What's up, everybody? Welcome to our junior high interactive family experience. My name is Pastor Ethan, and thanks so much for participating today with the family. Now, every once in a while, I like to share some really helpful tidbits of information to help, you become full of knowledge and wisdom. So today, I thought I'd share with you that it is National Hole in My Bucket Day. On May 30th of each year, this holiday is to honor the fun children's song, There's a Hole in My Bucket. Now, this song has origins dating back to the 1700s in Germany, and it's about a conversation between a boy named Henry and a girl named Liza. Henry needs to fix his leaky bucket, so he asks Liza for advice. Now, how in the world do you celebrate this day? Well, we all know it's a bit of a bummer when you get a hole in your bucket, but not all is lost. Buckets with holes can still serve a purpose. I mean, maybe they no longer hold water, but they can still do many jobs. So maybe you've got a hole in your bucket right now, or maybe you've once had a bucket with a hole in it, or maybe one day in the future you'll experience a holy bucket. I have a ton of solutions for you today. Number one, buckets of many sizes make excellent planters, especially for garden vegetables that have deep roots. Number two, put an umbrella in the bucket and then fill the bucket with concrete. You now have a sturdy umbrella stand. Number three, maybe this spring you've been tasked with pulling weeds. Flip your bucket upside down to use as a garden seat. Number four, create a compost bin. Even with the hole in it, you'll be able to make a terrific nutrient-thick compost for your garden. Number five, build a birdhouse, a bird feeder, or a bird bath with your bucket. Number six, storage. Buckets of all kinds can be dressed up and used to store tools or outdoor toys, or even those outdoor Christmas lights that you still haven't taken down. And number seven, the final one, sing the nursery rhyme while you repurpose your leaky bucket. And that's all I've got for you today. But the next time you have a hole in your bucket, just rewatch this and you'll be all set. Well, before you run out of the room to fix the hole in your bucket, let me tell you what you can expect for junior high today. We're going to fill out an online connection card, so parents, get your smartphones ready. We're going to have some friendly family competition, and we're going to head into a brand new series. And then all throughout our teaching video today, we're going to pause and have some great discussions. Now, I just want to remind all of our parents watching this morning that you are the ones who will be leading those discussions today. And the discussion questions can be found and downloaded from an email I sent out yesterday. And you can also find them in our junior high Facebook group. If you didn't get that email, or if you haven't joined our Facebook group, make sure you let me know so we can get you on our mailing list and send you an invite. It's really the best way to do these interactive experiences by leading those discussions with your student. In fact, it's the entire reason why we do this every week, so that you can have a clearer window into the spiritual development of your student, and so that you're able to create a space where you're helping them grow into everything God created them to be. So if you need to pause the video and go download those discussion questions, please do so now. We're about to get into our series, but before we do, we would love to hear from you. We want to stay connected to you and check in, and so we have something called the connection card where we can do that. The connection card is found right on the main page of the LakePoint app. And so we would love if you would take the next 60 seconds and fill out the card. It's basically like signing our guest book and letting us know you were here. So let's take the next 60 seconds and fill out the card together. thanks for completing the connection card and signing our guest book. Now, every week here at Junior High, we have some friendly family competition, and today we're going to put your eyesight to the test. Here we go. All right, well, today we are going to play a few rounds of Where's Waldo. Now, if you've never played Where's Waldo before, you are in for a real treat. What we're gonna do is we're gonna throw up a picture on the screen and you have to find a guy named Waldo in that photo. What does Waldo look like? Well, he's a guy with brown hair and glasses and wears blue jeans and a red and white striped shirt and hat. Now, the first person to find Waldo will get 1 point. And once Waldo has been found, you move on to the next photo. So the goal would be to have the most amount of points at the end of the challenge. Are you ready? Here we go. How'd you do? Who had the most points at the end of the challenge? You just take the next 2 minutes and let us know in our LakePoint Jr High Facebook group. You will have the chance to win a Tim Hortons gift card. Or if you don't have Facebook, you can just email me at ethan@lakepoint.church. All right, we are gonna switch gears and head into the teaching portion of Junior High. We're actually starting a brand new series today. It's a 4-week series that's all about temptation. Check it out.
Yeah, welcome to Tyler Rates Snacks. First we've got Chips Ahoy, 6 out of 10, a little dry. Mini Chips Ahoy, no, not it. Do you like Cheez-Its? Not it. 2 out of 10. Cheez-Its. White cheddar Cheez-Its, different example, 8 out of 10. Regular Cheez-Its, 2 out of 10. Fritos, it's classic. It's a good for dipping stuff. Good for dips, mostly. But Fritos, solid 5 out of 10. I don't know you're gonna agree with me here. Mountain Dew, 8 out of 10. Some of you, this is a 10 out of 10. I know it, I know you love it. For me, 8 out of 10, it's good. But I mean, if I asked you, like, favorite snack, name like one snack that you really want, I'd bet I'd get a lot of different answers from you. You probably disagree with my ratings on a few of those. So for you, what would it be? Ice cold Mountain Dew, a bowl of ice cream. Okay, maybe not even a snack. Maybe it's not even snack time. Maybe you just want a new pair of Nikes or a excused absence from school this week. Maybe it's just your own room or an automatic A in your hardest class. At one point, I wanted something even more than I want those snacks right now, and that was a new pair of soccer cleats. Because you know this, if you play soccer, the shoes you wear are very important. And I wanted like the nicest, the best ones, the ones that were gonna make me run faster, and honestly, like, look cooler, you know, than the ones I had. But I'm sure you've wanted something really bad at some point in your life, and what you wanted is probably different than what I wanted. But either way, I think we can all relate to the feeling of really wanting something. And sometimes the things we really want are good for us. Like grades that show our effort, or a healthy body, or a solid group of friends. But if we're honest, I think we all probably admit that sometimes the stuff we really want is the stuff we know might not be best for us. There's actually a word to describe that, a word that explains exactly what it feels like to really want something, especially something that might not be good for us. That word is temptation. Temptation simply means the desire to do something that we know is wrong or unwise. In other words, temptation means wanting to do something that may not be the best for us. Maybe you've heard that word before, and if you have, you've probably heard it used in a negative way. That's because so often when we think about temptation, we think it means doing something wrong, or doing everything wrong, or saying bad words, or stealing or cheating, something we do in secret, something we do when adults aren't around. See what I mean? Like, when we think about temptation, we think it's about our behavior. We think it's about our choices. We think it's about what we shouldn't do. But look back with me at how we just define temptation. Temptation means the desire to do something that we know is wrong or unwise. In other words, temptation means wanting to do something that may not be best for us. Actually, let me show you a video my friend sent me to show you exactly what I mean.
Wait. When I get back, then you can have it, okay? But you gotta wait. Be right back. You did so good. You're a good girl.
See that? Dog did it. But did you see the drool from that dog? That dog wanted that treat. I mean, come on. Either your dog or your friend's dog, you know a dog that would have eaten that treat right then and there. Some dogs would have been well behaved enough to eat the treat, but here's the thing, all dogs want treats. That's just true. But see, that's the thing about temptation. Temptation isn't the thing we do or don't do. Temptation is just the desire to do that thing. It's the feeling we get when we really, really want something that may not be best for us. Sometimes when we want something, it's not bad. Sometimes we want to study more so we'll pass the test, practice more so we make the team, or do more chores so our parents will let us hang out with our friends more often. The desire to do those things, it can work out for our good. But I think we all know what it feels like to be tempted to do something we know we shouldn't do. Have you ever wanted to not show up on Zoom for class, or watch shows or YouTube channels that you're not supposed to watch, or tell a lie, or download an app your parents told you not to get, or sneak your phone into your room at night, just break the rules? I mean, that kind of temptation has the potential to lead us down a path that may not be best for us. And the consequences, you know this, they can be harsh. You might get grounded, lose your phone privileges, get detention, or get kicked off the team. And that's just if you get caught. Even if you don't get caught, you might find yourself facing guilt or embarrassment or stress or pain or worse. See, giving into temptation has consequences. And after you give into a temptation that isn't good for you, you can end up with lots of questions. Maybe you've been there. And if you have, you probably found yourself wondering things like, am I a bad person because I was tempted? Am I a bad person because I gave into it? Why do I want to do things that I know I shouldn't do? Is God mad at me if I give into temptation that isn't good for me? Why doesn't God help me out here? Those are all great, honest questions. They're questions I found myself asking more than once. And that's because temptation is difficult. It has a way of confusing us. It can convince us that these not so great things might actually be what's best for us. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to keep giving into that. If temptation is something we're all gonna face, I wanna learn how to face it well. This struggle goes all the way back to the first humans ever created, Adam and Eve. In Genesis, the very first book of the Bible, we learn that God made everything and saw that it was good. Then he made Adam and Eve and he saw that they were very good. Adam and Eve had a special relationship with God. They walked and talked with him every day. There was no insecurity or guilt or comparison or just anxiety or jealousy in that world. Can you even imagine that? So what changed? What happened? Well, something came between Adam and Eve and their closeness with God. Let me explain. God had given Adam and Eve the freedom to do anything. Well, almost anything. They were not supposed to do one thing: eat the fruit from one specific tree. Like this. I don't know that this is the fruit. This is a pomegranate. Maybe it was a pomegranate. Maybe it wasn't. So you would think that with all of that freedom, Adam and Eve wouldn't have even noticed that the fruit of that one tree was off limits. But that's not exactly what happened. God's enemy, Satan, told Adam and Eve that God was keeping them from something good. He told them that the fruit was really good for them and that they shouldn't trust God or his rule. Adam and Eve chose to believe Satan. They chose not to trust God. And so they ate the fruit. Adam and Eve's choice broke their closeness with God. Their sin put distance between them and God. And what's worse, now we as people have something in our hearts that causes us to distrust God too. That's why there's a battle inside of us between what we think is best versus what God tells us is best. That's why our temptations are tempting, because we struggle to trust that God has our good in mind. And the conversation on temptation in the Bible doesn't stop there. So many writers in the Bible talked about it a lot. And I think that's because God knew it would be a pretty big deal for us. James was one of those writers in the Bible, which, fun fact, he also happened to be the brother of Jesus. But James wrote to Christians about issues that affected their everyday lives. He talked to them about how to handle tough times and how to control their words, how to treat other people, and how to understand the temptations that they might be experiencing. Let's take a look at what he said about this. When a person is tempted, they shouldn't say, God is tempting me. God can't be tempted by evil, and he doesn't tempt anyone. But each person is tempted by their own evil desires. These desires lead them on and drag them away. When these desires are allowed to remain, they lead to sin. And when sin is allowed to remain and grow, it leads to death. So right here, James was helping us understand where temptation comes from. And he said very clearly, he said that God isn't the one who tempts us. Temptation comes from within us. It comes from that desire that started all the way back with Adam and Eve. That desire to do what we think is best rather than what we know God says is best. So we're tempted by our own desires, and we've got to learn to deal with those desires in a good and healthy way. Really, because James told us there are consequences if we don't. They have the potential to hurt us or drag us away from God's best for us. And the longer we let them remain, the bigger they get. And the bigger they get, the harder they are to deal with. The more difficult they become to resist, and the bigger the consequences are when we end up facing them. See, God wants what's good for us. He really, really wants what's best for us. And we can experience God's best when we choose not to give in to the temptation that tells us something else is better. When we choose to trust God and follow his way instead. In other words, we can experience God's best for us when we resist temptation. And here's why this matters. Temptation is something that we'll face for the rest of our lives, in big and in small ways. It's something we'll deal with a lot. And you have the power right now to decide to deal with your desires in good and healthy ways. You have the choice today to choose God's best for yourself and to not let those temptations grow stronger in your life. You have the choice to recognize temptation and trust that it's not God's best for you. So, what does this mean, right now? When you find yourself faced with temptation to cheat on a test or lie to your parents or watch that video on your phone, what are you supposed to do? First, practice identifying what's tempting you. Think about the last year. When have you made bad choices? Which, hint, they usually include you getting in trouble or feeling guilty. But what was the temptation attached to that choice? What was the reason that you wanted to do that thing that you knew you shouldn't do? What made you really, really want it? Popularity? Being cool? Being accepted? Taking the easy way out? One of the first steps to resisting temptation is to identify what's making you want to do the thing that's not best for you. Then remember that God wants what's best for you. You can trust God. God's not out to steal all the fun from your life. He doesn't make the rules because he's on a power trip. He isn't holding out on you. In fact, it's actually just the opposite. God wants you to enjoy life to the fullest. He wants you to resist temptation not because he wants your life to be boring or uncool or lonely. He wants you to resist because he has something better for you. Following his way is what he really, really wants for us. And when we remember that, temptation becomes a little easier to say no along the way. So remember, we can experience God's best for us when we resist temptation. And here's what's helpful to remember. You're not alone in this. All humans struggle with temptation, but you're also not alone because you have a group that cares about you and is committed to walking this road with you. Take advantage of this time you have together. Be honest about your temptations and support others who share as well. Help each other see temptation for what it is and resist it so that you can experience God's best.
Listen, we all face temptation. For me, and this might sound small and silly, but around 10 p.m. every single night, I have the biggest temptation for nachos. And I don't even really eat nachos for, a typical daytime snack or meal. It just happens to be my temptation when it's late and I'm hungry. It's like in that moment, it's all I can think about. Now, maybe you aren't, tempted to eat a bag of nacho chips. Maybe it's something else, like annoying your sibling when your parents aren't looking or listening. Or maybe it's staying up late to play video games instead of doing homework. Or maybe it's the temptation to bend the truth just oh so slightly so you don't have to explain the full story. We might even be tempted to talk poorly about others because, there's no good reason. Sometimes you just want to make fun of someone. We face temptations of all kinds, and that's what I love about this series. It has the ability to help us in those moments as we try and figure out what's okay and what's not okay. So, what do we do in these moments? Well, we can deal with temptation by identifying what's tempting us. If we feel guilty about something, if we feel anxious or stressed, or if we get into trouble and are facing consequences, those are some good indicators about where you're experiencing temptation. So, what was that action attached to those consequences? After we've identified what's tempting us, we can remember that God wants what's best for us and that we can trust him. We can actually experience God's best for us when we resist temptation. And I'm so excited as we jump into this new series where we can learn more about what that looks like. Thank you so much for participating today. I hope you spent some time today as a family and walked through those discussion questions and had some good conversation around today's video. Now, before you go, remember to post a photo of your family participating today in our LakePoint Jr High Facebook group, and you could be the proud winner of a Tim Hortons gift card. And to close our time this morning, take the next 2 minutes to pray together as a family, and then head to the LakePoint app to access our weekday devotionals that go along with our series. You'll find them in the family resources section, or you can find them in the link in the video description right below me. Have a wonderful week, friends. We'll see you next time.